This is Keke.
Kids, dears, peeps. Wow, I haven't said that one in a moment. Hello, it's me, Keke. And this week we are going to discuss how society constantly wants to define us through gender roles and sexuality and usually tiresome expectations. It can truly be exhausting, but I know we can change it. Yeah, I said change it. And I feel very, very sure and hopeful of this. But today, I'm joined with actress and singer Janelle Monáe, who has explored all of the above through her music. And first, we have to go down the rabbit hole with my mama Sharon, who always has some good thoughts to add to the conversation. Hello, Sharon.
Hello, how are you? I like that.
I'm hollering
Nice
in,
hat.
how are you?
I never sometimes don't know how to greet you, like "Hi, daughter," or a colleague. Hello, colleague. I
Yeah, I
never
mean, I
know.
guess, what do we say? I mean, I feel like I always greet you and I'm saying, hey, girl. And you're like, hey, Keke. Yeah, you just call me Keke.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
exactly.
don't think you've ever said daughter, but you know what? One time you were really proud of me. You were like, and I'm very glad you're my daughter. You said that one time. And I was like, yeah, I think that might be the only time I heard you say daughter. But I did
Yeah.
do a past life thing one time, which we actually need to have a past life person come on the show. And they told me that me and you were sisters in a past life.
Really?
Isn't that crazy? That's probably
Wow.
why we're
Yeah, I
just
can
so
believe
tight.
that. Yeah, I can believe that. I do. But I've been calling you Kiki even in my stomach. Remember the whole story. So
Yeah.
I've just, Kiki is just, little Kiki's kicking, so
It makes me feel like I feel like you're like this about all of your kids though. You really see us as individuals. I really do feel like you
yeah.
always kind of made us feel like very
Yeah.
independent on our own. Like you are your own person. You're my daughter, you're
I
my son,
agree.
but you are you. You've always
You
been
know,
like that.
I agree. And my mother did that as well. She definitely made sure that we were individuals. And I remember when I used to get really angry and I, say something stupid to my mother, she would never make me feel bad about it. She would say, "Well, I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you got it out. Cause I want to know how you're feeling. That's why I think I raised my kids that way as well. I wanted you to speak. Even if you're angry, I want you to get it all out because I really wanted to know where you were coming from. So I think I just got that from my mom. That's all.
Well, I mean, I think that's amazing because it actually speaks to what we're talking about today and probably why my frame of mind is so individual based and not like, I've never felt chained to ideas and stuff like that. I always felt very strong in being Kiki, being my own person. And with you talking about your mom and I'm talking about you, my mom, and how you guys have been like that all of my life, it explains
Yeah.
probably why I feel the way I do on this very topic. I mean, aside from sexuality or all the particular boxes that people can put you in as it pertains to romance or
Yeah.
your character or your gender, I think
Hmm.
overall we're just talking about the fluidity of being a human being and really being able to express yourself in all the different facets because no one is really one way. Everybody is
Yeah.
always multiple ways. And
Yes.
I love talking about this with you, this stuff, because I think a lot of people always attribute it to, millennials and Gen Z that, we really break down those barriers and we really are, putting names to things and et cetera. And I'm going to pat ourselves on the back with that. Yeah, I think we have done a good job with that. But one of the main
Right.
things that whenever I've talked about this topic with you, you always bring up people like Prince and
Yeah.
Madonna. And it's like, people, those kinds of conversations
Yeah.
have been happening for a long time. So I want to talk to you about in your generation when people like Madonna or Prince or shit. I mean, I know this is not your
Or Michael
generation, but
Jackson.
like Michael Jackson or Little Richard, even if we go all the way
Yeah.
back. I want to talk to you about what your perception is surrounding identity and gender and
Right.
sexuality in your generation.
Right, right. Well, definitely. We had Prince, we had Michael Jackson, Madonna, and those artists very much so crossed the line with, gender now, didn't they? Prince
Mm-hmm.
wore high heels and makeup and mascara, and we had seen it before with Little Richard and stuff like that. But Prince was even more out there with it and more sexual and all this type of stuff. And I think my generation at first the guys didn't respond to him. I think Prince had an overwhelmingly woman audience, but then at some point I think the guys just like this guy's talented and they started following him, but it was rough, I would imagine, for him For
Mm-hmm.
all of them, but what the one that I liked all of them. They're all tremendous artists, but I really did like Madonna because she just kind of was like, fuck it, I'm gonna do what I want to do. I'll kiss a woman on stage, sure. I'll do
Mm-hmm.
this. And it was shocking, but it was also very freeing. You know what I mean? It was
Mm-hmm.
very like, whoa, I can't believe she did that. And it was like, wow, okay, all right. It just made you feel like you weren't in boxes. I myself have always felt more masculine.
Mm-hmm.
I
Same
mean,
for me. You know that.
yeah, I was a tomboy. I liked to play baseball. Everybody else was jumping rope. And so I always felt like I needed to um pull myself back. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah.
And when I got into high school, this somebody teased me. It was another girl. She was like, "Why do you like to hang with the boys?" And
Wow.
that really does something to me. So then I started trying to wear makeup, and trying to
Mm-hmm.
look more feminine because I didn't want them saying bad things about me. You know what I mean? But the
Yeah,
truth,
yeah.
but the truth was at 14 or 15, I was asexual. I wasn't attracted to nobody.
I know that's right, Sharon. It's giving Michael
Yeah.
Jackson.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't into guys or girls. I was really just into trying to
Mm-hmm.
find my damn self. I had a weight problem, so most of the time I was working out, trying to keep my weight down. For when I decided what direction I wanted to go in.
But I
you
think it's
know?
so important what you're saying, which I think is the biggest
Right.
crossroads that we find ourselves
Yeah.
in when it comes to even being in the queer community or trying to figure out your identity and your gender as it pertains to your sexuality, right? And I think that
Right.
somebody like Prince is a great example because people is like, for instance, with Little Richard, he identified as gay. So you could attribute some of his feminine traits or whatever you want to call it to his sexuality. But then somebody like Prince, even though we didn't
Right.
start talking about the definitions or putting words and labels to it, Prince was kind of the first one that says my sexuality, gender, or my flamboyance does not directly correlate with my sexuality. You cannot define
Absolutely.
me based off these character traits and assume that I like women or I like men. And I think that was like,
Right.
when I think about somebody that chooses to be fluid and ambiguous in that way for the first time
Right.
that I think we've seen, it would have been somebody
Right.
like Prince because he never told people what his sexuality was. People
No, he
just
never
assumed
did.
or guessed or whatever you had
Right.
it. And he always, kept at his business. And so I think that,
And he used it as a marketing tool. The whole
mhm.
song controversy. Am I black or white? Am I straight or gay? He used it in a very genius way.
Would we say it was the same
Yeah.
with, I don't know if the person is, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I don't know if the person is Billy Idol or is the person that I'm thinking of Mick Jagger or there's somebody that people
All of
say that
them.
Harry Styles pulls from and he kind of
I
does the same thing
I
or he
would
kind of keeps it
say
ambiguous.
I would say that he's a mixture of David Bowie and Mick Jagger.
Yes, David Bowie is actually who I was thinking of.
Yeah.
But yeah, what I like about that, and I feel like now we get into such a in my generation, everything starts to get so sticky, right? Because then you have the
Yeah.
concept of, okay, well, is somebody actually sexually fluid, or if they are they actually open with their gender and their identity, or is it just a marketing tool? Is it just a scenario where they're trying to get, let's say, the queer fan base? And for me, I'm very caught in the middle with that, right? Because
Yeah.
it really isn't anyone's business who you
Yeah.
sleep with, So
Yeah.
it's like, if the only way that I can prove to you my
Sexuality.
authenticity or my
Yeah.
sexuality is to let you know who's in my bed, is that exactly fair? You know what I mean?
No, I think that's a no. I think that, no one, not celebrities, not the carpenter, not the mailman,
Right.
has to tell you who they're sleeping with, has to have a conversation with you about their sexuality. It's their business. Now, if they want to do that, that's fine. But I think everyone should have the right to keep their business to themselves.
We're in a great place of identifying things. And I think that that's important because when you identify things or when you put names to things, it does make people feel like they belong somewhere. It's like, oh, I feel this same way. I represent this community, or this is a community that I can be a part of and that I can feel safe in. But having said that, I've found myself that sometimes there also is a con to that, because what if you don't fit into the stereotypes of what that community is? Or, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
what if you are
Yeah.
multiple things at once? Even
Yeah.
if we take it out of sexuality and gender, every black person ain't the same. Every woman ain't the same. Nobody is the same anything, you know? So I
No.
think there has to be room, like you said, of respecting everybody's point of view, and ultimately respecting people as individuals outside of whatever label that we can put one another in that will help us learn, or respect or understand one another better. You know, it's like a balance, because
Right.
people still, no group is a monolith. And I want to ask
No.
you this too, because we're talking about sexuality, we're talking about
Mm.
gender identity, but let's talk about gender roles, right? Because
Got it. Got it.
I know for me, I've always made not just more money than any guy that I have dated, but friends, or I started working very, very young. So
Right.
when you talk about feeling masculine, that always made me feel like, oh my gosh, embarrassed or ashamed, because
Yeah.
what is that? I always felt like, damn, for more reasons than one, my life would be so much easier if I were a man. And I always
Right.
hated the concept
Right.
of gender roles, because I grew up in a home, you and dad were reverse gender roles. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it ain't like dad was just this man that was just working all the time and bringing home the bacon. It was like dad
Right.
was sewing my clothes, washing my clothes, feeding, making my meals,
Ironing.
ironing, and
Yeah.
you would be the one
Yeah.
on the road with me. You would be the
Yeah.
one doing
Yeah.
you would be the Matthew Knowles, so to speak.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I didn't grow up in those gender roles. It wasn't
No.
until I went into the real world and people started making me feel ashamed for essentially,
Right.
on paper, being what
Right.
the man should be. And so I
Right.
want to
Right.
know, in your generation, how did you guys see gender roles? Like, was it worse or was it better? I mean, did you, in your friend group, did y'all even think about this or care about this or talk about this as
You,
it
you,
pertained to your counterparts?
you know what? I've always been different. You know what I mean? I've always been different. I've always not, paid much attention to other people. Maybe I'm a bit narcissistic or something. I don't know. But I've never really focused on what other people were doing. I've always focused on what I needed to do. And it was very simple. When I got married, Larry could cook better than me. That's it. He cooked better. He didn't have a problem with cooking. He could sew better than me. He could do a lot of female things better than me. He really could.
Quote unquote
But
female things.
yeah, quote unquote. And then I've always been the go getter, the big mouth, the one that's, in there talking and hustling. And so I was kind of like the masculine, the one out in front talking and hustling and doing all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
And he was cooking. So I imagine if someone had came into our home, they could have easily said, whoa, wait a minute. She's acting like the man and he's acting like the woman. But me and him just never really cared about that. We just was like, the kids need to be taken care of.
And the truth of the matter is that's what it is. It's two people in a marriage, which is essentially just a partnership, doing what they do best. And it shouldn't be based on
But you're
gender.
absolutely right. You're right.
I could keep going on and on with you about this, but I got to get to my girl, Janelle.
All right.
Baby, this is Keke.
All right, you guys, I am so excited for this one. My next guest definitely knows a thing or two about exploring sexuality through their art. Oh my gosh, they do it so well in all that they do, especially in their new album, The Age of Pleasure. You really need to get into it if you have not yet. The music is fabulous. As always, please welcome to the show the incredibly talented Janelle Monáe. Hello,
Hi, my
Janelle.
love. I tried to do some sort of reveal, but I don't know if it worked
I'm
out.
here for the reveal. I'm here for the reveal. I'm always excited whenever I see you, whether it's at a little industry turn up party, or it's at the Academy event or World Awards, or on the music scene. I mean, you are everywhere. And I was talking to you about this, before we even started the show. Just, I love the consistency in your creativity, in your art, and the different images that you share with us. I mean, I'm seeing a totally different side of you than I saw, initially when I first was introduced to you. I mean, I don't know how many years ago it's been, 10 years, 20 years. I mean, you've been in this game for so long, but whether you're playing in the masculinity space or the femininity or blending them both together, you always are you and sharing with us something that's so unique. And so I'm curious because obviously today we're talking about gender, social norms, social identity, sexuality, etc. And your freedom, I think, is really inspirational when it comes to that topic. So how did you get there? Has that always been who you are? Or?
Yeah, listen. First of all, I'm so happy to be talking to you, and congratulations on the
Yes.
baby. Hi,
Thank
mom. You look
Yes.
stunning. Talking about seeing me, I'm like, okay,
Thank
when
you.
I have a child, I pray I look that good. You look so beautiful. You making it look
my
easy.
gosh.
I know it's not. You,
Oh.
actor, singer. You got this podcast, mom, sister, daughter, like so many things that you have had your hands in.
Niece. No, I'm kidding.
Right. Everybody knows that you have been so inspirational to us, to me as well. So I just want to say, I'm so proud of you. Like, even though we see each other at these events, I probably don't get a chance to really, really just tell you that I'm proud of you. I love you. I see your growth. I see your evolution. And that's always
Thank
inspiring to me as a free ass motherfucker.
Period. A free ass. Come on, fam.
A free
I'm here for
fam acronym
Yes.
FAM.
Yes.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that I have always been this sort of like free spirit, and by free I mean not catering to what people think I'm supposed to do as a daughter,
Yes.
as a human, as an android. I came into the industry talking about science fiction, building worlds during a time where they were trying to just push me to stay in one genre, have this specific image. I would show up to photo shoots and be like, oh, go throw on a dress. Not that I had anything against dresses, skirts. I love all of that. But I had to honor where I was at that time. And that's pretty much how I have tried to sort of be as an artist and just as a person. I think my art is a reflection of where I am at that time. So if I am trying to decide on what I think is sexy or what I think, makes me feel strong or what makes me feel soft, or it'll all come out, in my music, even in terms of like the up-tempo-ness, the way that I would dance on stage. All of that was just a reflection of me honoring who am I at that time? And it's just been beautiful to look back.
And you're a Sag, right? If I'm correct, I was just checking. I'm like, you're Sag. So I'm curious. Obviously, that Sagittarius fire energy. I'm a Sag moon. I have a lot of that energy. When you talk about free ass motherfucker, it's very much so in my bones. How much does society's, the way that society tries to push us into boxes, how much does that inspire which direction you go in? Because I know I was reading something that was really interesting about, this new era we're in with you with the age of pleasure, where you were saying you felt like people were using a lot of your older work or your older imagery to kind of put women in a box. Was that a big part of why you went into this different direction? Because yet again, it's that energy coming out that's like, okay, wait a minute. You think I'm going left, I'm going right? Or like, how did that play into, how you created your art this season?
Yeah. As I started to grow, I mean, I grew up, I guess I got to go back a little bit. I grew up in the church. I grew up in a very conservative Baptist small town in Kansas City where I was taught to fear everything. Like I was just, don't get in the music industry and do what they're doing. If you take off your clothes or if you're showing skin or if you're doing this, then you're a Jezebel.
Wow.
It's not godlike. Have your morals, have your values, be fit into our idea of what's good. And as I started to, express myself in my art, and I wanted to play, and I wanted to really like honor all of me, right? All of that started to come up. Those aunts or those uncles or those people in the church that would judge so many of the girls in our neighborhoods. Ooh, look at her fast tail self wearing that short skirt. Or look at her on TV, got her breast all out. That's all she can do is sell sex. Like you would grow up and hear those things. And as I started to realize, like, wait a minute, y'all not dealing with the real issue. The real issue is the patriarchy in which we're living in.
Yes.
The
That is
misogyny.
true.
Like, we have not felt safe for
Yes.
so long to express who we are. And the fact that you're
Yeah.
trying to stop this person's shine, and also you're trying to use my image, right, to
Yes.
talk down on other women, I will not accept that. I will not allow that. And absolutely, it made me say, I'm about to show these motherfuckers. Like, we are all fighting for the same thing, to have bodily autonomy. We are fighting to, if we want to dress up in a tuxedo and present as mask, femme, we have the right to do that without somebody trying to force us to look this sort of traditional way of femininity. We basically, when we want to do what we want to do, we will do it. We will not play into your social norms or assimilate. We will not assimilate.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted. I wanted to make it very, very clear that I stand with, even if my freedom doesn't look like my sister's freedom, I stand with her.
I love what you're saying with that. And I love what you're saying too, because the patriarchy really will have you effed up. Like, it will have you feeling like, okay, like which ideas are my own? Is it my idea that I don't want to feed into what you think is traditional, or is it my idea that I am feeding into traditional? It can just, and then also it all stems from a place of the assumption that what you're doing is for the male gaze.
Oh,
Yeah, it makes it think that it's always about that. I'm not saying if you have a man you want to look great for him, that's not valid. That's great, but that's not every scenario. Everybody is not dressing for that. I mean, if I'm being quite honest for you, I'm living for the yes, bitch. Yeah, that's what I'm living for. I'm living for my girls. I'm living for you know what I mean. I don't know a man that really cares about makeup and all that kind of stuff. So it's like when I'm getting myself all glamorous, I'm living for my girls, and I want them to get into it. And it's a total different representation when you see that. And that's when I was talking to you also about the lipstick lover video. Yeah. What I love so much about that video was that I could tell a woman's hands were in it because all of it was so beautiful, tasteful, but sexy. It was cool. It was fly. It was sensual. It felt very goddess-like. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, it just felt very like, I'm free and I'm in the trees. You know what I mean? It was just, I mean, I watched it probably over and over and over again and sent it to so many of my friends like, bitch, did you get it to Janelle Monáe's video? And I feel so honored to see this aspect of your art. Talk to me about, was it just like an immediate decision, or did it take you some time to like be like, I'm really gonna do this?
Yeah. It was very scary for me to honor who I am. You know, this is a side that my friends, this whole album, this Age of Pleasure, literally I wrote this for me and my friends. I said, if we fuck with it, if we want to turn up to it, vacation, you know, with it, like if it's something, it's a soundtrack to our lifestyle. Like, this is not a, that's why even with the putting out of the visuals, it's so us that it's hard for me to even talk about. You know how like when you live something, like we live this, it's like, I don't know how to explain that I'm just living my life. And I think that what Lipstick Lover was able to do is give you a glimpse into what it looks like when Black, queer, trans, when Black women, when we feel safe, when we create our own safe spaces. Because when I think about the word pleasure, there is no pleasure if we don't feel safe. If we don't feel safe. And so I said that's so important, even in terms of how I shot it. We shot it with in 16 millimeter film, 8 millimeter film, and I co-directed it with Alan Ferguson. And I said, listen, we've seen so many images of us, you know, under this this sort of this film. When you look in the 60s and the 50s and you see us being beat, you see us being water hosed, you see police attacking us, you don't see us having an incredible time with each other, with our communities. And I was like, I want to make sure that there is art right now and in the future that shows us when we feel safe, when we're in our safe spaces, when we're amongst each other, and when we are brave enough to show that light unapologetically.
That makes me just feel so happy and so seen. Especially, I really want people to sit on what you said when you said there is no pleasure without us feeling safe. And I think I can even speak for myself. And I've had girlfriends, but there's so many situations where we've had intimate or sexual experiences where in our minds we're just kind of like there was something off. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
or pleasure really isn't. Well, you know what? It's not really supposed to be for me. Or you make all these excuses as to
Yeah.
why it really wasn't that comfortable or why
Yeah.
everything wasn't like what you imagined it be.
Right.
And I think
Right.
most of the time we don't realize it's because we did not feel
Feel
safe.
safe. Yeah. It was a
That
lot
is
of,
just
I mean, yeah, no, I think it's a lot of unlearning, also growing up in the church, even with my own sexuality. Like I had to do a lot of unlearning because you go to church and,
yeah.
and in the sermon, you going to get a good, few minutes of them talking about how homosexuality is, the devil's work and how, you're
Uh,
going to hell and, people like, so you suppress that part of you. Like I knew when I was
mhm.
when I was little that I was
Yeah.
attracted to girls. I knew that. And I think
Yep.
one, I knew that, oh, this is not, my culture does not accept this. You bury it. So I buried so much of myself. I spent years burying myself, burying, my sexuality, burying my sensuality. It was always like
Yeah.
if you show your boobs too much, at work, you're not going to be taken seriously, or you can't show skin when you
Oh,
go to church. It'll be distracting. You have insecure people. You have people who again want you to assimilate, and you grow up having to unlearn those things. And I spent a good amount of time doing that. Yeah,
how do you grapple with that, right? Because a lot of people feel like, oh, sexuality is private. I mean, others are really open about it, but
yeah,
we've seen a lot of different things about sexuality in your music, whether it was your album, Dirty Computer, or your
yeah,
newest album, The Age of Pleasure. But like you said, that doesn't always, whether it's the visual or it's the music, that doesn't always fall on ears that are going to use it in the wisest way.
yeah,
So how do you grapple with the reality that you're going to put stuff out there that people are going to be really inspired by, people are going to be empowered by, but then people are going to also use that very thing to
hmm,
just double down in their
yeah,
misogyny, in their
yeah,
patriarchy? Like, how do you grapple with that? And why is
yeah.
music your medium?
Well, I told myself this time around, with my previous work, if you look at it, it tells a very, very powerful story. I've always, since the beginning of Metropolis to Arcandroid to Electric Lady, even up to Dirty Computer, it was always centering a fight, the fight against
Ah,
white supremacy, the fight against those who seek to oppress queer folks, black folks, poor folks, like everything. The android represented that. It represented the other. What does it mean to be the other, living in a society that tells you there's something wrong with you, that you don't deserve happiness, you don't deserve love, you don't deserve to be hand in hand with your partner or your partners. And
girl,
yeah, so what
you
I
was eating
said,
this up right now.
yeah, so I said, listen, this time around, I'm not centering that. We're not talking about that.
Yes.
We're centering a world for us, an oasis for us, that even in the middle of people telling us that the way you are is wrong, who you are is wrong, you're going to hell, you don't deserve to have the rights. We're also going to take your rights away from you in the lawmaking. I said, we exist. This is our life. And instead of responding to a fight, I'm going to respond to love. What does it mean? What kind of world, what kind of art can I create when I'm responding to love, to our joy? How can I do that?
I think that that is an equally powerful form of fighting against oppression,
Yeah.
because I remember when I was talking to Jordan, he was like, I did Get Out, and that was Get Out, was its thing. But when I did Nope, I wanted people to see black love. I wanted them to
Yeah.
see happiness and joy. And I think it's
Yeah.
so important that when we are fighting against so much, we often do kind of overlook how you really can overturn things by just beating people over the head with love,
Yeah.
joy,
Yeah.
acceptance, happiness.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not even going to center my conversation around changing your mind. I'm
Yeah.
just going to amplify the joy that I feel from this.
Exactly. You get it. And you have been doing that.
Yeah.
And I just want to thank you for
Oh,
that. even in terms of like,
Thank you.
because it's not everybody that is seeking to, try to tear us down. It's not. Millions of people
No.
are with us. People are with us. People are getting free by watching you say, you don't tell me what to do with my body. You don't tell me how to act as a mother. You don't define that. I define that. And that is what I'm saying
Yes.
too. I define my sexuality on my own terms. I don't have to talk about it until I'm ready. I'm not going to feel
Yes,
pressured
exactly.
to speak on things because you want me to speak on things. This is my life experience. And my art is a reflection of my life, but it's my life. And I
It's
won't play
my
with my life.
life.
And I'm not going to play with my
Yeah.
mental health. And I'm not going to play with, my freedom.
You.
Yeah. It's obvious that I don't give a fuck about what they think. It's obvious we don't. We're living our lives,
Girl.
baby. It's obvious that I
It is
don't
so
care
obvious.
that you talk shit about how I don't shave my underarms. They still hairy, baby, and smell good. Like we don't respond to that, right? So I think that
Yes.
that's really what I want for us. I mean, obviously we keep fighting when it comes to elections and making systemic changes. Like we
Mm-hmm.
show up for each other, right? We in the streets, we marching. And I think we also have to make sure that we are creating moments of joy for ourselves that have nothing to do with that.
Yes.
Well, because they do
No,
the stuff you
seriously.
got to, right?
No,
Yeah.
seriously. No, seriously. I think that's extremely important. I remember I was talking to will.i.am about the same thing. He came from the projects and he's had this kind of life. And a lot of people had, thoughts about why he would do the kind of music that he did. And in that
Mm-hmm.
conversation, again, I found myself having the same similar vibe with you, where it's like,
Mm-hmm.
I want to take people here. If I'm going to be a creative and I'm going to do something, then I want to be able to share my mentality, the mentality that's allowed me to survive. That's what you're
Yeah.
speaking to. You're
Yeah.
speaking to a mentality that's allowed you to be free. And
Yeah.
and and so why did you choose music? How did you find music? And
Yeah.
how did you realize that was the way that you wanted to kind of
Mm-hmm.
uplift and encourage this positive narrative?
Yeah. Music is powerful because music brings so many people together. And I think music is that powerful tool that we're going to be dancing together, having a good time. I have the ability to shape your views, to shape your mind, to change the way you think about us, to change the way you show up
Yes.
or don't show up for us, and to change the way you think about yourself.
Why do you think people get so up in arms about, people like us that just want to be their own person? Like, why does individuality sometimes cause such an adverse reaction? Like I remember when I first started tweeting my thoughts when I was like 17, 18, I was met with something that I don't think I had ever had to define, but
Mm-hmm.
ultimately realized was misogyny. And I'm like, damn,
Mm-hmm.
I am
Mm-hmm.
really, for whatever reason, my personality is really a personality that's attacked by this misogyny. For
Yeah.
whatever reason, it's like this
Yeah.
personality doesn't go with
Yeah.
that way of
Yeah.
thinking, and it gives a visceral response.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious to you, because we don't want to hurt nobody. So what is that
Exactly.
about, you think?
Exactly. There is no harm in the making of Keke Palmer, and there's no harm in the making of Janelle Monáe, right? But actually, there is, because you know what I think? I think that we
Oh,
challenge
wow.
tradition. We challenge conservatism. We challenge the systems that these people are holding on to, that they're afraid to let go. We challenge them. We challenge them. We are a direct threat to the prison that they want to stay in.
Ugh.
We're dangling the key.
How much of it, I'm curious, do you think is ignorant? And what I mean by ignorant is like, misogyny actually doesn't just hurt women. It actually hurts and chains men. Patriarchy is actually
Yeah,
horrible, just as horrible for them as it is for anyone else.
absolutely.
So how much of it do you think is people really wanting to live that way and people actually not knowing that there's another option?
Mm. I think that it is people wanting to live that way, and they're raising their kids to live that way. And I think that there are people who know that it's not the right thing to do, but they're also scared.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
one of the painful things sometimes is watching women, you know, um, align with misogyny.
Ugh.
misogynoir. And I have to give grace because, you know, I too, if I don't catch it as a non-binary, as a he, she, they, them, free ass motherfucker, I too can hold misogynistic views if I don't catch that. If I don't say like,
Absolutely.
ooh,
That's why I asked that question.
yeah,
Because how can you be in the world, in a country, and not have elements of that? And
yeah,
so that's why I asked that question, because I do think there is this place where we have to save grace and compassion for one another as we
yeah,
all try to figure out, like, damn, let me make my way around this, because it's
yeah,
hard. But I think that it's the same way when we talk about what we're experiencing. I feel like we're in such an era in our world where we start defining and creating things such as non-binary, and yet we
mm-hmm.
still are so binary towards one another. I keep saying
Mm,
this because it's the strangest thing in the world to me. It's like,
yeah,
good or bad, canceled or not,
right,
this or that. And it's
right,
like, but how? I wonder how we get to that next stage of, like, just letting people be individuals. That's really
yeah,
ultimately what we're fighting for, is
yeah,
the individuality, is be me, who I am, not being solely based off of my sexuality, my ethnicity,
yeah,
my nationality, my religious background, whatever it is. Those things
hmm,
might inform me on some level,
right,
but they're not all of me. I'm an individual
yeah.
inside of all that. I don't know what it's going to take to get us there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, what you're probably speaking to, I think, is like nuance. Like we
Uh,
the world leaves no room for nuance. I think one of the things that you're speaking to that's so important is assimilation. And, you know, I thank my ancestors for getting us here, right? We have to give thanks
mhm,
because even when I think about, ooh, how our ancestors were enslaved and they did not even
mhm,
have the right to define their own sexualities.
mhm,
They had
mhm,
they did not have the right to their bodies. You think
mhm,
they got to pick what clothes they were going to wear, if they were going to honor being queer? Like so many of their sexuality, their sensuality got ripped away from them, and
mhm,
they were robbed of that sort of freedom. But I think assimilation again for our ancestors, they needed that to survive. I think that even when
mhm.
we think about anti-blackness, like
Yeah.
within us, we can all, and I'll use
Yes.
myself. I'll just lay myself out there. You know, I'm capable. We're all capable, right, of holding
Mhm,
anti-black views, and we have to just say,
mhm,
listen, you know, the way in which we talked about hair, locks.
mhm,
Like you
mhm,
need it, boy. You need to go get a haircut. Ooh, your hair nappy. Ooh, the you got good hair. You know, she has bad hair. All of
mhm,
that. Pull your
mhm,
pants up. You sagging. You
mhm,
know, you're
mhm,
never going to get a job like that. Or if you wear a suit, you're more respectable looking than the
mhm.
cousin who's wearing the jeans and sagging. And these
Yes.
were things that we were
Yes.
taught. We were taught all of this to assimilate, like we were going to get some
Yes.
sort of reward. We
Yeah.
were going to get
Yeah.
some
I
sort of
mean,
reward for presenting ourselves in the respectable way that white people want us to present ourselves. That's what they taught us.
Baby, this is Keke Palmer, yeah.
you are preacher to the choir, and the respectability politics has been something
Mm.
that's always been a bit of a sore spot for me, because I often felt like, like, even if I'm just being real, like, there was a time where if I went to the Met Gala and I said, it's your girl, people would have been like, get your ghetto ass out. You know what I mean? So for
Yeah.
me, it's very
Mm.
important for me,
Mm.
because I'm not a person that truly has always abided by respectability
Yeah.
politics.
Yeah.
And I remember there was a really cool episode of Insecure where Issa Rae's character was like talking to this new girl, black girl that came to work at the office, and she was doing a lot of things that were outside of what are quote unquote respectable.
Mm-hmm.
And Issa tried to tell her, like, girl, calm down, and like, you can't be acting like up in here like this with these white folks, and
Right.
and then the following episode or something, she like ends up getting a raise, and moving on up in the company.
Mm.
And I love that episode of Insecure, because that has very often been a lot of times my experience, because
Yeah.
my sass, my
Mm-hmm.
slang, my flamboyance does not mean I'm not intelligent.
Ooh, Ooh, say
It
that
actually
again.
weighs no bearings on
Absolutely
who
not.
I am as a person, where my mentality is, what I believe in, what I think is
Yeah.
possible, where I'm going to go,
Yeah.
etc., etc., etc. And I really am so grateful. I think when I started doing hostings and all that kind of stuff to show all my young people, all my young Black folks, bring your culture to the table. Show the
Yes.
colors of who you are,
Yes.
because that is your superpower.
Yes.
That is what makes you
Yes.
stand out. That is what makes you different. And then turn around and let them know, read them the rights and let them know you know what you're talking about. And leave it at
Right.
that. And so it's like I'm really thankful, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because I'm tired. I was a bit. I'm pretty conked out on the respectability politics.
Yes.
You know, it's
Same.
pretty exhausting, girl.
You tweeted something and I was just like, oh, I cannot imagine. I think you were trying to pump your breast milk in like an
Yes.
airport. And talk to me a little bit. Look, I'm
Yeah.
about to interview you. Talk to me a
Yeah.
little bit about how hard it's been to breastfeed. I don't know if you're still breastfeeding, but to
Yeah.
breastfeed your baby in public spaces.
I think I carry a lot of shame sometimes when I'm in public spaces, because I don't want to make other people uncomfortable. And I've had to really kind of come around to like not worrying about that. Like, it's
Yeah.
a really bad feeling when you feel that you're embarrassing somebody that you're with, or you're being an embarrassment in public, scenarios and all
Hmm.
that kind of stuff. So I've had to kind of just push that to a side. And then it's been similar with the pumping. Like, and I know people are trying to be helpful, but I've been around, I've been pumping in public, and it's like, it is what it is, motherfuckers. And people be like, well, we have
Right.
a room for that if you'd like to go to the room. And I'm like, well, if the room makes you feel comfortable, I'm fine with it either
Why
way,
don't
because the
you
baby
go to
gonna
the
eat
room?
regardless.
Right.
Yeah, why don't you go to the room? But the baby gonna eat regardless. But it's one of those things. I really do feel like I'm one of those people that, and I don't say this in a way that you feel sad, but like I'm kind of used to that kind of thing, whether it
Hmm.
pertains to me being a mother and me doing the breastfeeding, whether it pertains to me being a Black person, whether it pertains to
Yeah.
me being somebody that is considered, I fall under the guidelines of queer, non-binary, etc., etc. I'm used to people having weird reactions to that, so it doesn't really
Yeah.
necessarily bother
Get to
me
you.
anymore.
Okay.
It's kind of one of those things where it's just like, okay, I got to keep it pushing. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? But absolutely, it's been a unique thing for me to have a now mother being added to the list of things that I'm being looked at under a magnifying glass.
Yeah. It is very unfortunate that they sexualize everything. Like
Yes, they do.
me going swimming topless or you feeding your baby, with your nipple, like they sexualize that. We're not even
Yes.
sexualizing ourselves.
No.
And also,
No.
there's nothing wrong. Like I support sex workers. I support, again, the right
Yeah.
for bodily autonomy, the right for women specifically to use their bodies in whatever way they want. If you are not ready to have a child, I support. I'm pro choice.
Yeah.
All of that.
I could talk to you forever, but I know you got to leave soon, and I want to get to this end game
Yes, let's
because I
get to the
always play a
game.
game with my guests.
Okay.
It has been literally a pleasure having you on the show. But before we say
Thank
goodbye,
you.
we're going to play a game called This One Has Some Sweetness to It. I'm going to ask you some questions that are a little bit spicy, sexual, and risque,
Okay.
and you have to give me your honest answer, the best, as much as you
Okay.
want to share. This is the first time actually that we're going to play this game, and I figured that you'd be the best person to play it with. So are you ready?
Oh shit. Okay, let's do it. Of course. I feel like I'm supposed to have a drink in my hand.
Oh my gosh, girl, I wish so damn bad. Okay, so first question is favorite way to feel pleasure?
Ooh, favorite way. Um, I have so many answers for that. Here's the thing. Pleasure for me is very broad. Like I
Mm-hmm.
find pleasure in playing backgammon. I love playing
Yep.
backgammon.
I find pleasure in laughing.
Love to laugh. I also love my vibrator. Like
Period, bitch.
if it's charged, clean, and I'm by myself, like what? That is like, I love some good head. Like that gives me pleasure.
Bitch, yes.
Right. I love Jamaican food, shrimp, curry. And then also one of the things that I love that brings me such great pleasure is when like I see my friends and family having a good time. and like they don't need
Oh,
me to make them have a good time. Like just
girl.
everybody's good, but we not entertaining them. Does that make sense? Like I like watching
Yes.
them take the moment.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. I love watching the joy in our people.
Girl, yes. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, when do you feel the most sexy?
Ooh, I'm feeling so sexy. I got a song called Hot on The Age of Pleasure. And that
Period.
song really, 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 really like talks about me tapping into my sexiness more. I love when my friends hype me up. Like if we're about to go
Uh-huh.
out or if we are, you know what? If I'm in a strip club too and I'm dancing and like a stripper sees me dancing and they like, yes, if I can make them blush and they turn around, they be like, yes, it's moving, it's moving, it's moving. I'm like, ooh, okay. Those moments are
Yes.
good when I can make a stripper blush. I
Yes.
also like, let me see. What was the question?
When do you feel most sexy?
Oh, most sexy. I feel sexy when I put on a bikini and I'm walking in Jamaica. Like it's nothing like fresh face, no
Mm.
makeup, a bikini. My hair is just like wow. Like I feel super a part of nature. And I don't know what it is, but it just makes
Yes.
me, it energizes me internally, I think.
Yes, I know
Yeah.
exactly what you mean. That feels like me when I'm in Joshua Tree, having a
Ooh,
trip. I'm just like,
right?
yes,
Yes.
I'm that bitch.
And like my eye, yes, I am that bitch. My eyes, like right now, I feel like a lioness. So I'm like on the prowl,
Yes.
like, ooh, like, ah.
Yes. Yes, girl. Yes. That gives me life. Okay.
Ooh.
So the craziest place you've gotten intimate with someone.
Ooh, the craziest place I've gotten intimate.
I
Hmm.
feel like I've got to update my crazy places because I feel like my shit could go harder, but
Yeah, now where
it's
is
very
yours?
basic.
What's your crazy place? Let
So
me see what you gonna
mine's is not that crazy. It's like
say.
it's outside on like not a hammock, but like when them outside like beds, like underneath the stars.
Yeah.
It's not that crazy. It was just like in the middle of the desert. It wasn't
No,
really
that's
giving
great.
anything
That's
too
sexy because the
interesting.
stars, you got the stars
You know what I
watching you.
mean?
You got all the stars. It's giving watch me. Watch me. Let me think. The craziest place, like what's like
Like exactly.
oh,
What's crazy? Like
I know. I mean, oh, can I say that? Oh, I mean, I've had some nights. I've had jacuzzi nights.
bitch. Okay. Jacuzzi, I feel like people always make jacuzzi sound fun, but honestly, the water, the hydraulics, it's just slowing me down,
It's
is what
too
I
much. Is
think.
it too hot? But see, you got to be above the water. Like, let your legs be in there, but be above it.
Mmm.
Woo! This is so great because nobody
Girl.
asks me these questions, and now I'm all shy and I don't got my answers together. This is
Oh
why
my gosh, I live.
we need to be talking
It's
more.
us.
I
We need to be talking
know.
way more.
I'm like, damn, I need all my interviewers to be like this because this is the good shit. This the shit I want to talk about. Let me
Because
get
we gotta have fun, child.
me. How are you? You know what? Let me ask you this. I wanted to ask you. I said, how are you finding fun and joy? How are you finding pleasure these days? Because I know as a mom, I'm not a mom yet, but I'm sure that
Honestly,
the combination of career mixed in right now is like you're busy. So
yeah.
how do you schedule in those moments for yourself where just your me time?
Honestly, that I was just gonna say the way that I find most pleasure now is me time. And that doesn't mean that I don't love my family, all my
Right.
loved ones, and my baby. But right now, for me, pleasure is defined with like me just doing stuff for me, whether it's
Yeah.
doing my own makeup, doing my hair,
Yeah.
going to get a facial, going to get a
Yes.
massage, getting my nails done, getting a
Yes.
pedicure. Like for me right now, because the thing is I'm just so needed for so much right now. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And
Yeah.
when you have a baby, you don't even realize how much people needed from you before because the
Yeah.
baby takes all of whatever you have to give, you giving it to that baby, period.
Yeah.
And then you realize, oh, wait a minute, other people still need shit from me? Wow.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
lot of people
Yeah.
needed me.
You're an
And so for
energy
me, it's like,
source. Mm-hmm.
I'm an energy source. And so it's like, Now, for me, it's like the main pleasure that I have is coming from me just like pouring into me nonstop, pouring into me on every freaking angle. And
Yeah.
it feels great.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that because that's what I want for us to not even feel like we gotta even say, I know you love your baby. I know you love your family.
Right.
But even the fact that you had to say that, the guilt around me time and showing up for yourself and
Girl.
I just want you to know, like, I feel you on 1,000, and I think for me, even this whole this not even era, this it's a lifestyle, that lifestyle change that had to happen. It's like we're artists, and artists
Yes.
have to pour back into themselves in the ways that like family can't do, kids can't do, fans can't do. We have to like during those moments of trying to figure out how to get back to a solid space with us, we get to define those things.
Yeah. The last one is, this one's actually a crazy, silly one, but I love it. I think I already know what you're going to say. But
Okay.
because President Obama has only have eyes 42 on his summer playlist, who is the sexiest Obama, Barack or Michelle?
Ooh, child. Now, no, you not. Now, they are my family. I love them. First of all, I was like, what? Okay.
Isn't that so cool?
I thought it was the coolest. And that song, I love it. We love them. And I think both of them, you know what I'm saying? Like, both of them together, that dynamic is very beautiful. I'm going to keep it very respectful, but we understand energy, and they're very powerful within their own rights, and they're super like cool. Like, have you spent time with them?
So cool.
So
I've
cool,
never
right?
spent time with Mr. Obama, but Mrs. Obama, Michelle, I have spent time with, and she is just like, I don't know if she just lived in Chicago or if she's from Chicago too, but she definitely gives me like auntie, like known you for years type energy.
Yeah.
Like very, like you said, they're both so powerful,
Yeah, she's cool as shit. She's gonna give it to you straight. Like, we've had some great conversations just about life. And I love that they continue to grow and grow and grow and grow. And I think that's sexy. I think that's really what we're up against right now, is people who are unafraid to grow and to step outside of tradition and do away with the things that we just don't even need to be taken into the future, or those people who just want to stay there and hold on to conservative views and tradition. And I think that even with them, I think you've seen them grow, even as powerful. And that's the thing that I feel like, even with us, I feel like we're not afraid to grow. We're not afraid to say, okay, listen, this is how we were taught. We were taught these things. But we're going to ask questions. We're going to be the kids and the people who are going to ask questions and be like, but why? But that doesn't make sense. And that will always ruffle some feathers. But let me tell you, we will continue to keep going. And if you feel tired, I'm right here, right beside you.
Well, I love you so much, Janelle. Spending this time with you only let me know that we need to kick it in real life more often, girl.
Come on.
Because you give me so much life.
You listen, me and you together, ooh, trouble. Like, seriously, they are not fucking ready. They're not ready.
Girl, they're not ready. They're not ready. But do we ever care if they're ready? No.
We don't even, do we, what? We don't see.
What?
It's giving like, my head only is this way, baby. We're this way.
Okay, that convo was definitely worth having. No? Yes, exactly. And never fear, we'll be back with more next week. Until then, it's your girl.
Baby, this is Keke.